You're listening to Just 3 Clicks, and this is episode number 12 on entrepreneurship and business in a digital world. I'm here today with Jamie. How's it going?
Yeah, good.
I always look down at my laptop, but I forget that there's a camera as well.
Yeah. I never look at the camera.
No, I don't
Weird.
either, actually.
If you watch a podcast online though, like
On
everyone
YouTube.
knows, like a Joe Rogan one, they never look at the camera, do they?
They look at each other, don't they?
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
We're not on the Rogan level, really.
No.
So-
Not yet, no.
Okay, cool. So today there's a couple of different interesting topics here that we've got to talk about. So background in the non-digital and digital workplace. So pretty much like we're going to be talking about how essentially like in 2020, COVID's basically turned the entire world upside down.
Yeah.
So I think essentially what's been highlighted with this pandemic is how much of an important role technology has played
Yeah.
in our lives, especially now, but it has been for ages, but I think it's just become really apparent now. And basically how it's going to grow over the next couple of years, and how businesses essentially need to be transforming and adopting, and not just businesses, I think, but people, I
Yeah.
guess, is what we're trying to get at here, is like entrepreneurs, like how's it changed, basically. So I guess to start with, like, maybe you should start like kind of like what's your, I mean, I know your story, but for the people like listening in, like what's your kind of background and
Yeah.
how you basically got online, I guess.
Yeah, so I was as you know, a salesperson, cold caller, one of those annoying guys everybody hates.
What were you saying?
Well, it was directory listings, and I actually went through the stage of the growth of Google. So even before Google, it was Yahoo, and some people may remember that, some might not. But Yahoo was the number one search engine. So when we used to basically sell, we had a directory, which back in those days was like your Yellow Pages, but an online version. And we'd sell like sponsored spots on it. So if you search for, I don't know, hairdresser in whatever city, our directory would come up at the top, and we would list. It's actually, back then, it's actually a cool business model, really, because they would just collate all the information on. They basically took the Yellow Pages and put it online, and then they had all the businesses listed, and then they would sell sponsored listings, or I would sell. So you'd sell to whoever, AA hair salon, if you want to appear at the top when someone clicks through our ad on Yahoo at the time. You can pay us more, or pay us monthly, I think it was, because everybody was free, and we'll put you at the top. And then what they did, again, another little smart thing, and we have digital tools that do this in our business now, but you used to be able to get these 0845 numbers. And what they did, they had this massive library of 0845 numbers, and we'd give every business that had this sponsored listing one of these numbers. That would be what would be listed on the listing. So when anybody rang that number, so somebody came through Google looking for a hair salon in Manchester or whatever, they clicked on that our listing, have all the businesses there, and then the one we'd highlight at the top would have the 0845 number. And as soon as anyone rang that, which people looking for a hair salon, it would whisper the name of our company, so they knew it had come through that directory. So it was a way of tracking. Like now we have, I mean, in our business we have Google Analytics and all of that. Back then it wasn't. Well, that wasn't there. There was no website, so it was just straight up. If you call this number, you can track every time you get a call through it. So I started out selling that, then got into, well, the company branched out as digital companies do, like us as well. More products, selling websites, selling SEO, and then that's how I ended up getting into, I suppose, the digital world. I can't actually quite remember. I mean, you all Google make money online. I probably Googled that, came across a few forums.
Yeah.
And I think at the very beginning as well, I remember I wanted to try and get an edge with, so there was obviously as cold callers, you're in a boiler room style, you have 50 people in there. I wanted to try and be the best in the room, and I thought my leads is what's going to get me there. So if I can find really, really hot leads that I'm calling, I've got more chance of closing them. I'll be the top seller. Yeah. So what I did is I thought, well, the best way I can probably do that is to just go online, figure out how I can get these leads to come to me privately, and then I'll call them up when I'm in the office. So I built these little systems. One of them I actually made into a little digital product at the time that I called Offline Stealth Tactic. God, silly name, but it was actually, it's a pretty smart idea. So what I basically decided to do was create this opt-in page. So for anyone that doesn't know, it's capture email addresses leads.
Yeah.
And I made it using a website builder called X-Site Pro. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just figured out how to build something with this
Very
X-Site
old
Pro.
school, that.
And then I had a little opt-in box on there, and I hooked up Aweber, I think it was at the time. And then what it was I think I focused on hypnotherapists at the time, and I was like, right, are you a hypnotherapist looking for leads? Are you a hypnotherapist looking for more business? If you are, enter your email here and I'll send you a doc, or I'll send you a PDF or a guide or whatever on how you can find more leads online. And then I didn't run it. There was no like paid ads or anything like that. There probably was at the time, but I didn't know how to use that.
Yeah.
So what I do is I just email hypnotherapists, cold email them. So I just send this email and say, hey, I put this guide together. I don't know if you're interested in using it. And I'd link them to this X-Site Pro page. And then literally they just started to opt in and get this guide. And the guide basically talked about how they could build a website and do this and do that. And again, how to SEO the website for the top page.
Yeah.
But it was quite brief in the explanation. And to anybody reading it like a business owner at the time, it'd have been, Jesus, that's a lot of work. Like, and then at the end it was, if you want me to help you do this, I'll show you how to go about it in the quickest way.
So even back then, you were basically getting people to essentially
leads.
come online.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and then I'd take them leads, and then I'd call them up when I got into the office, and they were just easy to close because I'd already pre-sold. And that's in a lesson in itself. We do that now, don't we? We give away free stuff, and people are more likely to buy. But that's how I transitioned over to the digital world. And then I had this, because I'd built that strategy, I decided to like put a little bit of a digital product together. I think it was a PDF, and I actually gave away some of the emails that I sent and showed people the guide I'd put together, and basically said, if you're a cold caller or you want to generate business leads for whatever service, check out this offline stealth tactic.
Yeah.
And I basically sold that online, I think, for about $17 at the time.
Right.
Probably made about 30 or 40 sales or something like that. But that's how I transitioned across with that product.
Right. I mean, for me, it was like I did sales as well for quite a bit. And my first job ever was actually like a door-to-door salesman. And
I remember this story. It's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, really. Like, it was like I thought I was getting like a full-on like job, and then I was making loads of sales as well. Like, I was quite. It might have been beginner's luck, to be fair, but I was quite good at it at the start. Got paid every week, and it was like exciting. And then one week I didn't make any sales, and then I didn't get any money. And I was like, how come I'm not being paid this week? And the guy was like, oh, we didn't make any sales.
Oh,
so
God.
That's when I realized
100%
it was like
commission.
Yeah, just full on commission. And then I think that just like stunted my confidence, and I was like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden I'm not making any sales.
Do you think back in the day when you did sales that when you were brand new, you just basically ran into it without overthinking it? And
yeah,
I remember that. And then you might get a few knockbacks or whatever, and you start questioning your ability, and then that's
pretty much. Like, I feel like that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, I picked it up after a while, but it took a while to get back into it, really, because it was like, this is just stressful now.
How do you think your sales background helped you online? Did it help you in any way?
Yeah, I think maybe not from like a technical perspective, but more from like mindset, I think.
Yeah.
Just of like, you just got to have a very gritty, very determined personality to do stuff
What
like
about
this.
Writing copy?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I've always thought, because obviously I've held some webinars, and I feel I'm pretty good at that. But we've all written copy, and we still probably do it today. You know, emails here and sales copy here, and I think being a salesperson initially helped me understand the whole point about you've got to figure out a problem and then build a solution for that problem.
I got taught it was a book by a guy called Neil Rackham called Spin Selling.
I've not read that one. No.
Do you know what? Like, the first ever course I made online, I call it problem, implication, solution, result. Basically, that was my thing that I brought into the video.
Problem. What was the second thing?
Implication, solution, and result. Now, where I got that from actually was this sales training thing I did when I used to work in another sales job. It was a different sales job, and they called it spin selling, and that was based on, I believe, setting the scene. So you basically set the problem. So that was like the S.
Yeah.
The P was like, sorry, no. I think it was. S was solution. So they first talked about what it was. Then P was the problem. So they talked about the problem was. Then it was the implication.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the N was now, but it was basically based on this spin selling thing. It's actually a really good book for anybody that is in sales, and it's been recommended by lots of salespeople. So it's actually quite.
Do you think with on that point as well, with because obviously we transitioned from this offline world into online, and obviously now with, I mean, even without COVID, everybody was moving digitally anyway. It's probably just sped up a lot of people's thinking towards I need to do something online. How much do you think understanding how to approach copy, because copy is everything, websites, your emails, whatever, how big of a skill do you think that is to going online?
Honestly, like, I think we use that every day.
Yeah,
like,
and we
literally
probably
every
underestimate how big of a skill that is, really.
It's like now, like, we're trying to shoot a video ad.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it if you didn't know how to write good copy.
No,
like,
no.
You're doing the upsell paths in the app. Couldn't do it without the copy.
But it's like second nature to us. But if you think, it just came to me then, if you think about when you first started, and I think about that little offline stealth tactic thing I called at the time, all that was just drawn out copy.
Yeah.
Of like, I know your issue is you can't get leads. Here's how to get them, but I can show you how to do it. Give me a call. It's copy, isn't it? But
I think it just teaches you about identifying problems.
Yeah.
Like, and we do that in all the marketing anyway. Like when we think about how we're going to sell the new videos, for example, it's like we understand how we need to sell it based on what problems we're solving.
Yeah.
And I think it just comes from, I think that is a base skill that everyone needs to develop. Like
100%.
if they're trying to come online.
Probably everyone has it as well, don't they? But without realizing it.
Yeah,
I
like
would say.
if you know your
It's human
business, you can
nature,
sell
isn't
your
it?
business, can't you? Like if you're a fitness trainer, you know everything you need to say. You just need to know how to say, like what structure to say it in.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've seen some PT websites and things like that, and they're just terrible. Like the way they tried to sell it. And it's like, if you just said it a bit better, you could probably sell it.
It's the whole thing about if someone comes to your website and and you've put yourself in the right place, and it's someone you could be a solution for, they're not interested in the business initially, are they? They're not interested in how professional you type in or whatever, or how you kind of position your company. It's more about, I've got an issue and just exacerbating that issue, and then I can fix it by doing this.
Yeah, if you look at some of the earlier, like, even now, actually, if you look at like long form sales pages in the internet marketing industry, the way they're written is like, hello friend.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
It was always that.
What I mean by that is like, if you ever read one of these pages, for anyone listening, it's like, the whole idea is they try to become really personal with the way they talk to the prospect on the website. It's like almost like they've written it just for that one person.
From the desk of Jamie Garza.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very
I think that was
informal.
like Gary Halbert. I think he's a huge direct response copywriter. I think that's his style. I went on a website not so long ago, a couple of months ago, that was based around him. I think we were working with a copywriter who was one of his, or something to do with, they've learnt from him or through something that he's put out. And I thought, I'll go and check that out, because I learnt a lot about him when I was starting out in IM. I'll check out what the websites and stuff are about now, and it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And every letter starts with from the desk of hey for hello friend.
Yeah.
Hey friend.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean for me, like the big thing for me was just I really enjoyed making video content, and that.
Yeah.
I also done a lot of sales. That's pretty much what my career was just sales basically. So I tried to like combine the skills and say, well, I'll show you how to sell using a video basically.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of,
I think if you're selling as well, being in sales in general is almost like running your own business, isn't it, in some ways? Because you've got to make the sales to make the money. If you've, sat behind a desk doing just a job that doesn't require you to make any sales, and, you're just ticking boxes or whatever, or you're just working in a warehouse, or you're a hairdresser or whatever, the sales are just there. Yeah. Whereas when you're a salesperson, you live and die by it. So if you're not making sales, you don't last long in the job, and that one month you can be the top seller, the next month you have a bad month, and all of a sudden people are asking questions, and your confidence goes. It is like running a business in a lot of ways, because you're constantly having to generate that new.
Like when I worked in recruitment, that was the mindset there.
Yeah,
it's like you have to build your desk like it's your business.
Yeah.
You've got no leads, you've got no anything. It's literally like get on the phone, generate some leads, and go and close sales, basically. And, you
And
build
if
it
you're
up.
not making sales,
You lose your job.
pretty much,
Basically.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think it does build a lot of grit being in sales. I think naturally, if somebody is in sales, they're probably going to have a good base set of skills to go online.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, so I mean, there's a point here on like why we decided to go a videos type thing, and essentially why we didn't do a bricks and mortar type business.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was just like I did do a bricks and mortar type thing. I was trying to do. Like I was a videographer basically, so it's not a shop, but I was spending my time going around. Like I done birthday parties.
So why did you want to go online?
Like I didn't think I should have gone online really. Like what I wanted to do was create videos for like entrepreneurs basically.
Yeah.
So that's why when I went online, I was like how to make money online and whatever. Like I was trying to find ways to make money on the internet. But whilst I was doing that, I was like, what I'll do is I'll charge these people to make content for them.
Yeah.
So that's why I started working with Alex. And it was like, you know, I'll just shoot videos for you and whatever. But he was the one that just said, well, why don't you just teach people online? Like you'll save the headache of having to do all this stuff and you'll make loads more money. So that's pretty much what got me creating courses basically. It was just
well, as I say, similar. I transitioned because I was selling websites, SEO anyway. I just decided to do that from home. But one thing that always kind of, why I gravitated more towards digital stuff, such as software like we've got now. And software came a lot later. Software I wasn't interested in at first because it wasn't the thing. But building digital products was the whole make money while you're in bed. That's what I always thought. Look, I can put together this digital product and I can have it online, and it's selling online without me having to physically be on a phone. That's how I initially thought I need to move this way. And I tested it out and I just made, I think on the initial thing I made more in like a week of selling digital products than I did for the entire month selling websites and SEO. And I thought, you know, it's no brainer really. So I just kind of moved that way really.
I remember fantasizing about the whole idea of like going to bed and when I wake up, there's like money there. Like, and I thought, it's just weird when you look at it now, because if you think about it now, I don't even look at what we make anymore.
No.
Like I never log on to. I used to log onto our dashboards and that
and
like
see
look
what's
at
happening.
like But now it's just like you know, it's the feeling's just kind of like not there anymore.
No, I think that's probably down to the size we've grown really.
I think so.
Because you just know everything's moving, and then we get updates from time to time, but. I'd like on a mindset basis as well. I think it's that the excitement of creating money digitally means that, and like you say, when you thought I could wake up in the morning, I've got money in my account, because everybody's conditioned to think you've got to work 9 to 5, 8 hours straight, and that's how you get paid. And I mean, I've got, you know, friends in all different types of industries, from tradesmen through to restaurant owners, people that, again, friends that own building firms, and their lives are completely different to mine. So I feel lucky when even though they all do really well for themselves, I still feel quite lucky that I went down the digital path way back when, because it's, for me, I've just got a lot more freedom in what we do, really. I mean, if we don't get a job tomorrow, like a builder who has a firm, if they miss out on a job tomorrow, that's their income. Whereas that isn't really as much of a worry for us anymore. It's more, you know, the platform is generating, well, the platform is used by customers, real customers, isn't it? So, and it doesn't need us there to push that on as much anymore. Yeah.
I think like it's, when I made my first sale online, it was just like, that's it now. Like I'm never going to go and try and work in a building. Like I say that sat in our building, but but what I mean is like I don't have to go and sell something in a shop make something physical. And you know, like there's so many things that we've basically jumped right through. Like there's lots of businesses, massive businesses that have, you know, it's like if you look at like a fragrance business, it's like you've got to look at like all the supplies, you've got to look at where do you get all the perfumes made, the oils and all the ingredients, all that stuff. There's all these different areas of that business that need physical points. And it's just like when you actually get a bottle of fragrance, it's just a bottle. Yeah. But the actual process behind it there is actually so intense, and there's so many people involved with just getting that one bottle made. Yeah. And like, and I'm only saying this because I know someone who works in fragrance. I'm not just like a fragrance person, but like, you know, it's just amazing how like we've basically not got any of that.
No.
Like we've literally just got a website basically. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, pretty much. I mean, there is people behind it. Obviously, you've got the developers and designers and things, but I mean, on a level of on an operational level,
logistics.
It's just you know, totally different, isn't it?
Everyone that's contributed to making that platform is just either sat in their bedroom somewhere,
or in a coffee shop, or just at home on couch,
got a little laptop, and that's it. Now we obviously make stuff like content and things, and we need to be physically there for that. But again, like we can do that anywhere. Really, I mean, we've shot content all over the world, like from my phone, from big cameras, medium cameras, like anything. Webinars where you're basically just sat in front of a laptop. So I think like in terms of like why we done it, I think that answers it really. It's like it's just easy. It's easy.
It's easy for us now. I'd say, because another point I was just thinking about then as well, especially because COVID has driven businesses that you wouldn't have thought would go digital to go digital. An example of that, of like businesses outside of your usual, like obviously a business like ours, we're an online platform, you create video, we're going to do well all the time. It's although we have seasonal elements to it, it's not really massively seasonal. And we're online. If you think of like a restaurant, so two examples of this. We've got one example where now everyone knows of like Uber Eats and think Just Eat we have here. I don't know if they have that around the world, but those apps you can order from any restaurant. Now, in where I live, you can sometimes you'll go on Uber Eats and literally can't order anything to my house on Uber Eats because there's no couriers that will bring it out to where I live. Yeah. And you get like an odd Subway or something like that every now and again, but it'll just pop up every now and again. So what I noticed happened over the COVID period is somebody local to me, I don't know who owns it or who started it, has created these two apps, Morecambe Eats, Lancaster Eats, and they've basically built them up and they're being pushed everywhere. I see everybody, restaurants, takeaways, all saying, "Oh, you can find us on here, you can find us on there," and I thought it was quite a genius thing what they did because they approached local pubs like to around me, traditional pubs that have been there for best part of 100+ years. Who, when you look at it, when you think of a local English pub, you don't think digital. You think, you go in there, you have a pint of ale or whatever, and it's everybody goes in. It's a community. This Morecambe Eats, Lancaster Eats, have built this app and they've pulled pubs like that into this app. So over the whole lockdown that happened, they are delivering food. And the local pubs to me, I'll often eat out with my family there. I was able to get that delivered at home or go around and pick it up and they'd be cooking it out of the kitchen. Those are businesses that would have never have done that. And there was one business in particular, just in the next village to me, who does pizzas. It's like an Italian. They've actually not reopened their restaurant since the lockdown because there's no point and they just do it all online now. And I thought that just shows how, I've gone on a bit of a tangent, but how COVID has basically driven some businesses that would once have never been digital to now think digital, we should just stick to this now. So it makes you think about what the future's going to look like. Are we literally going to just be living off Uber Eats and not going out as much? And
I think what you're talking about there is basically like the middleman business. And I think with what's happening right now, there has to be more middleman businesses because there's going to be a lot of people who don't know how to translate online.
Exactly, yeah.
And then there'll be people like that will say, well, you know what, I'll take your very dated business model and I'll put it online.
Yep.
And I think that's where things are going to go to. Like, if you look at Uber, like they pretty much nailed it.
Well, taxis is one of the oldest.
Yeah, it's literally like a classic.
It's been around. Yeah, I mean, one of the oldest professions probably ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
I never even thought. I mean, I remember when I used the first Uber, I think we were in the States because it wasn't even in the UK at the time. Definitely not up where in the north.
I don't think up here it was. It took a while for it to come up here.
But it's just a revelation. And I know we don't have Uber where I am. It's not possible to get an Uber. But when we go into Manchester, we use it all the time, and we've obviously friends go in and they use it for the first time. They're like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I know they've recently re-won the license, haven't they, back in London? Because they got it taken from them, but they've reinstalled it. But that's the prime example, pretty much what you said there. And then they've gone into the Uber Eats thing.
There's a reason why Amazon continues to dominate as well, and it's because like you'll have business owners who've got shops and things like that can't put they don't know how to go and like
build a shop,
build a website online. So it's like, we'll put it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So what you'll notice on Amazon is the trend is just like all these new products, new vendors that are basically using the FBA program to basically just
sell
their shit online.
And it's the same with, and again, something else I noticed a lot through lockdown and COVID from people sat at home, had more time to think about what they're going to do. I mean, I saw a comment only last night of somebody commenting on a post to do a government post about some restrictions, and someone had commented, said on the actual post saying lockdown was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I was just reading through the comments, and it was a woman that had a craft that she'd never used the craft before, or did just like a hobby at home.
Yeah.
Got put into lockdown, had more time on her hands, furloughed, and basically has started to build out her hobby into a craft business. And I don't know what she'll have used, but there's sites like Etsy where you can have a skill, like you might be great at knitting, you might be great at going and grabbing even little things like sand and pebbles from a local beach. I've seen people doing this, building out really cool things like ornaments and whatever, and they're selling them on Etsy and building full businesses out of it. And you've got the likes of social media as well, how big it is now. I mean, everybody's seen this on Facebook. I mean, everybody's selling something on there right now. You've got people selling, I mean, perfume's a big one. There's like the perfume thing going around at the minute. There's people selling, I mean, you've probably seen the sweet packages people have been doing. People have just decided to think, what could I put together, put online and sell? And I suppose right now, if you think about when we first started doing all of this digitally, how much harder it was to put your stuff online and sell it than it is now. I mean, you couldn't put an e-commerce store online easily back in the day. You would have needed
I remember making my first ever blog, and how much work it was just making,
and how basic it will have looked as well, I bet. Not like
you'd look for these really great themes, and you'll be like, oh, that theme looks amazing, and then when you load it
it's
on
just
WordPress,
basic.
it's just like this stupid table basically on your homepage that says "Hello World."
Well, back in the day, I used to, because I sold websites, I never used to build the websites myself. I used to have an outsourcer via Upwork that used to help me build the websites out, and literally every website I sold was HTML. There was no WordPress. WordPress was starting to become a thing and more mainstream back then, but initially it was HTML, everything. And to put that into perspective for somebody coming online right now, wanting to sell something, whether it be their own service, their own business, there is literally no better time to do that with where the world is. But you couldn't have it any easier than it is right now to be able to do that. And you don't even have to invest that much money. I mean, take Viddyoze as an example. Could you have ever created anything like what our platform allows you to create for the price that you can do it? You would have spent hundreds, if not thousands, on creating just one of the things you can do in your entire license. So it's incredible, really. But that just opens an opportunity, and I suppose those that want to go and run and get it will get it. Yeah.
I mean, there's a note here just saying, like, essentially, your website basically is your shop. Like, that's how it is now. The online landscape is pretty much your high street. You have your traffic, and that's how we basically have to look at the world now. There's a little quote here from Bob Swan, Intel CEO. He says, "Today we're witnessing what will be remembered as a historic deployment of remote work and digital access to services across every domain, including medicine, education, government, entertainment, and more. In the coming weeks and months, services will be further digitalized as the creativity of a massive work from home population gets growing." So that, like, I mean, this is what businesses have to start understanding now. It's like, we basically had this initial lockdown period where I think businesses were like kind of reliant on the government funding and the schemes to essentially allow them to like see themselves through the period. But there's still businesses that have probably lagged and not done anything to actually catch up, because now where we are now is, it's October now, creeping up to Christmas. Like, the chances of us like basically reverting back are pretty high. Like, so for anyone listening, in the UK now we have a tiered system of lockdowns now. So, you know, we have more larger populous lockdowns based on the region that we're in. So if that's how it's going to work everywhere, I don't really know. But that's having an impact on businesses again. And if they're not ready now, then it's just, you know, the problem's just going to keep rolling and rolling. And, you know, people basically have to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, I think being prepared as well, because I've seen, so since we've had things like lockdown, when we had the lockdown, then we came out of lockdown, then it was, right, everyone move back, let's get the economy moving, but there's all these restrictions. And I feel sorry on some businesses. I mean, we've been quite lucky with the business we're in. We've had to adopt a few things, but in general with what we do, we don't have to get intense with it. But you take like the hospitality industry, which is huge and probably one of the biggest affected. Some of the restrictions that they've had thrown at them, you can tell when you go into different places, restaurants, bars, whatever, that they don't really know 100% what it should be like. Yeah. And those that have been more prepared just give a better experience. I mean, I go out a lot with you know, friends and family to eat tons. I mean, as everybody does around the world, but there's places I've been in that I would never go back to now because of some of the way they've handled the restrictions. And it's just not a really good environment to go to. It's just not enjoyable. I think there was one place I went to watch football, being a Newcastle fan. We were on TV, met a couple of my mates, and went and watched a game, and the experience was terrible. We all said while we're there, I'm never coming back to watch football here. And it was a well-known pub in my area, and it's like they just got it wrong with what they were, and just little things they did, they just didn't prepare and do it properly. Yeah. And then you'll go in somewhere else who is another place who will be much more prepared, and you don't really notice a difference other than having to wear maybe a mask to go and sit down. The experience in there hasn't changed from what it was before. And I think those businesses that have prepared a little bit better are going to probably more thrive than.
I think that's where the competition is now.
Yeah, it is,
like if you've got two restaurants and one's adopted correctly and the other hasn't.
Yeah,
that's it, isn't it? Basically, like and the way that that's going to happen now is basically being on trend.
Yeah,
like there's a note here on like customer behavior and how essentially like users' behavior on devices now is obviously so different to what it was just 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Like I remember when lockdown started and I got an alert on my phone about 3 weeks or 4 weeks in, my phone basically popped this thing up saying your usage has like doubled.
Gone up, yeah.
Like, and you know, you need to like consume your battery and you need to preserve your battery doing this and that. And it's like, that's what everyone will be doing.
Yeah.
Like we've obviously noticed this with our advertising efforts. So, you know, we run a lot of paid advertising and that. And the cost for acquisition is increasing because the amount of businesses that are going online and competing and all the traffic that's online now. And that's literally just a case of people spending more time on their phone and browsing, and businesses are trying to keep up with that now. So I don't know, like the point we're trying to get to here from the notes here is like, if you're an entrepreneur, not even if you're a business, but if you're an entrepreneur, like how do you approach this now? Because how we did this 10 years ago, it's probably a bit different because we weren't thinking about that. Really, like we were just like, well, we just want to go online. But now it's like you have to go online. Basically. Like no one's going to go and open a shop now. In fact, I know someone that did go and open a shop in Ireland, and they were open for like 3 weeks, and now it's closed. Like
just why? Just because did not
lockdowns. Like there's restrictions in their industry, so they can't be open. So they've spent a tremendous amount of money basically getting the shop together, been planning it for a year, like, you know, all this energy's gone into this thing, and now it's like just a complete waste of money.
Yeah, that I feel sorry for a lot of business owners that have gone and done that, because there'd be no way, you know, back prior to lockdown that you could have ever predicted what happened. Ever. There's absolutely, unless you know from the inside government, you know what's going to happen and the restrictions that are going to be put in place.
It was just
no one could have predicted any. Yeah, exactly. Like I remember sitting there. We've said it a few times, and it was like, oh, this. You know, we were going away. We were locking down for 2 weeks. Surely it can't go on longer than a month. Surely, like the kid. I remember when my daughter come back from school. The school shut. It's like, yeah, they'll be back in next month. And then it was like Yeah, no, they'll definitely be back in May. Surely they're not going to be off until the following school year, and they didn't go back till I can't. When I think back, and I think about this year as well. It's now coming towards the end of
It's
October.
over, basically.
What has happened to the year?
Yeah.
What has happened to the year? The last time we went away, me, you, and David on a business trip was over a year ago.
November last year, wasn't it?
October, I think it
October,
was.
was it?
Yeah, Barcelona.
Yeah.
And that was the last time we went. That, if you think about how long ago that was 1 year ago. I can't believe that. That's incredible.
It's amazing that, considering how much we actually used to go away and be away. Like,
It just shows how much this year has just gone, not in a flash, it's more of like a blur, really.
yeah.
I'm just glad. I mean, our business has come on leaps and bounds this year and has grown dramatically, but I feel we've lost a full year almost
Yeah.
of just like indecisiveness with what's happened with.
It's
not
been very
within our
challenging.
business, but
Like,
yeah, with
we,
in general.
we're obviously going through a bit of an investment process and stuff, and it leaves so many questions in the air about, like, well, should we do this now? Should we do that? And it's
Yeah.
like, it makes making decisions very difficult.
Yeah.
I think if you're an entrepreneur now, like, you've just got to spot where the opportunities lay. Like, everyone is going online right now. Like, we actually made a course, in fact, which is probably worth mentioning,
Yeah.
like, called Expert, which we launched, I think, about a month after the lockdown. because
Yeah.
It was basically designed to show people, if you've got an offline skill, like if you're a fitness trainer, a chef,
A
or
guitar player, anything. Yeah.
like, it will basically give you an insight into how to actually, go online. So if you are that kind of person, just go to expert.viddyoze.com and you can check that out. But point is like, right now, our challenges now, an entrepreneur's challenges now are different to what we had. I think in a way, we were quite lucky in that there wasn't this massive wave of, like, online business then.
Yeah, so everybody's coming online now. There's more competition, I would say,
Yeah,
for people
a
looking for
lot.
them opportunities. But then it's easier to get set up and moving now than it
Yeah.
was when. I mean, there's obviously a trade-off, isn't there? But 100%. But one thing I've always thought, I think that's a really good point with when you're coming online for the first time and starting something brand new online, is commitment to continuing to do it. Because I think it's really easy. Over the years, I've started so many different digital focused product businesses. Some of them have took off, some of them haven't. And I think it's easy to start something online, whether it's an online business, a digital business, or you take your business online. If you're brick and mortar, your restaurant, you go online for the first time. It's easy initially to get excited, and then you kind of go through a stage where it's like excitement, that's all you can think about. It's, you know this is the thing to do. But then you see, and it must be the same for everything that moves online, you have this period where it doesn't quite go as well as you expected. So you might have a bit of a lull. You might not take off as what you expected it to do. You had these visions of grandeur and all that, and it just doesn't happen. And a lot of people at that point give up.
Yeah.
And think, you know what, this isn't going to work, I'm going to scrap it. But I think what you've got to do at that point, the ones that win are the ones that step back and think, well, when I first started this thing, what did I start it for? What was the vision? Is that vision, is what I was thinking, what I wanted it to be, is that still viable? If it's still viable, you've got to keep chasing it. And then, though, it's almost like a race with other people, and people start dropping off at these points, and then the one that can kind of just continue pushing through and through is the one that ends up being successful with it. And I've seen that personally through some of the things we've done, some of the things I've done in lots of different industries.
It's like Viddyoze. Like, when we went to market, okay, we were probably one of the first ones that done this.
Yeah.
But we had other people that made the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, not very long after, probably like 8 months later, there was a competitor, but they didn't continue.
Yeah, if you look back then as well, we had probably a handful of competitors that almost, I mean, they didn't, rip it off and try and copy everything. But I mean, there was certain ones that were copying things, like blatantly copying the way the templates looked, copying sales copying sales videos. But if you look at every single one of them that has done that, they're just nowhere near where we are now, and I think that shows we've just stuck to what the vision was, and just continue chasing that, and don't really worry about what anyone else is trying to tell you or what anyone else is doing.
Yeah,
because you will hit that point 100%. You will hit a point where you think, is it worth carrying on?
I think as well, like focusing on the right things. Like we've talked about this so many times, but it's like, you know, instead of spending like a week trying to get like the best looking Instagram profile,
Yeah,
just go and get a customer, basically.
exactly.
Like just go and find someone that's actually willing to give you money. Whether you got a website or not, it's kind of irrelevant. It's like
100%.
if you're a fitness trainer and you can deliver some coaching on a Zoom call, get someone to pay you $500 to go and do it online.
Yep.
That's so much better than having a website with a blog and articles and videos and all of that, but no customers.
Yeah.
Like 100% all the time. That's what I always tell anybody that's getting into this. I know someone right now that's trying to build a clothing brand, and it's like, they're like,
that's a bit tougher, isn't it?
It is pretty tough.
You have to
like,
have the brand looking right, don't you?
Yeah, it's already a hard industry, but they're like, what should my about page say and shit?
Yeah,
and I'm like, who's buying the clothes?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, have you got someone actually willing to buy? And it's like, well, nah. And it's like, well, that's where your focus needs to be then. Like, that I think for me, that's always going to be the biggest advice for anyone starting out is, look, right now we've got such a good opportunity. Like, there's a very weird market in that everybody is health conscious. People want to know if they're safe, have they got a virus or not. They want to cover their faces and whatever else. There's all kinds of opportunities. Like the fragrance world right now, there's a company that's just basically released this. Well, to give you an idea, so if you're into fragrances, you will go into a fragrance shop and you'll get one of those little sticks, spray it, and then you smell it. Can't do that now.
No.
Like, you can't touch the bottles anymore.
You can't, can you?
You can't touch the bottles. You can't do anything. So what this company's done is they've launched a subscription model for people to basically pay every month, and they send samples to them every month, like through the post.
Right, okay.
Fucking sick idea.
Yeah, it is good.
It's such a good idea. Yeah. It's like, normally you don't even pay, you wouldn't pay for tasters, but now people are paying for tasters to have them posted because it's safer.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, it's just such a simple thing.
I didn't even think about little things like that you won't be able to do that easily.
It's just bizarre, like how the world's changed. Like, I tell you what's really fucking stupid. Like, I went to High Street yesterday. I forgot my mask in the car.
Oh,
right.
No.
So I'm walking around the high street, like going into all these shops, and I'm like, oh, can I just come in and get a mask? And they're like, no, you need a mask to come in. And I'm like, yeah, but hang on, I can't get a mask without coming in.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've literally had to walk all the way back to my car to get a mask, and then come like a 15-minute walk back to my car.
I had a similar experience. Luckily, it was in a local shop to me. So I know the owner of the shop, and there was no one in the shop at the time. But I had to post something. I pulled my t-shirt over my nose, but I had that awkward walk where I'd had to walk with my t-shirt halfway up my belly. So I'm coming out of the shop like that with people coming in because I had no mask. So I just thought, well, I can't drive home. I've just got to pull my t-shirt up here.
Yeah.
And luckily there was no one in the shop, but it was awkward coming out.
But it's like, those are opportunities, aren't they? It's like, fuck it, like, go and make an app that reminds you to put a mask on when you leave your car. I don't know how it works, but it's just an idea. Like, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but it's like, that's how you spot opportunities. It's like, look at what's happening and go and capitalize on it somehow.
There's another a good one that I was chatting to a mate of mine who's in the property industry, estate agency, and it's surprising how that's changed, because when you buy a house, you think, well, you want to go and look around the house, you want to walk around it, and you want to actually go in there, have a look, is there any issues? But they're now seeing people are not even doing that anymore. You can still do it, but they're seeing they're not, and they're offering video walk rounds.
Virtual
and he was asking me about that to see, can our software build these walk rounds? And he was asking for some advice. So there's an opportunity there. There's a massive industry there that are in need of that. They will probably be in need of that more than ever before soon as well, because it'll just become normal to think,
why are we not
I want a video thing. Well, it's a bit of a tough one, because a video walk around slightly different from animation, but that's a huge thing, and they're even going to move to things like all of your contracts for lettings and things like that is all done digitally, where it's always been you print out all of these forms. They've moved to digital through this period. And I think our accountants have all done that. And previously, you'd have to go in and they'd have to come out with all this paper, stacks of it. I mean, that's one good thing for the environment, I suppose.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the episode. Is I think
We
there's a
should do an
massive
episode
opportunity.
in the future, on good business ideas that have come to light now.
Yeah.
I think that would be quite interesting.
Yeah. All right. Let's put that. What an indie you're listening, so maybe get that one on the cards as well. Cool. All right. Anything you want to add on, just generally the COVID thing? Any last minute thoughts, ideas?
Not really. Just I think if you're out there thinking I need to move to the digital thing, one other thing actually with that point as well. Don't it kind of builds on the point you made about just go out and make the sale. Don't worry too much about building this and doing that. I think when you go into something brand new, or you're gonna go and follow something that you've not done before, and going digital for a business, would fall into that bracket. You can spend a ton of your time learning and reading and watching videos and listening to this and listening to that and going and figuring out what's this expert saying, what are they saying, and you can sometimes consume yourself with that much information about what you should and shouldn't do that you just paralyze yourself into basically getting started. And I think information paralysis, I don't know if that is even a thing, but I know sometimes you can spend too much researching something before actually doing it, and I think sometimes you just need to do it and fail as you're doing it, really, and pick it up as you go along.
Yeah. Yep, I agree with all that. I think only thing for me is literally, look, right now, if you look at any business, like businesses solve problems, like what you've got to look for is what one of those problems is not a digital solution right now.
Yep.
Like what businesses are still doing the physical thing, and what can I do to, make an impact there? And you know what? Like, it doesn't have to be this big thing, like this big solution. It can be tiny.
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
Like sometimes the smallest things are generally the ones that actually stick and that people need the most. Is just really simple solutions, and that's pretty much it for me. So
Yep.
cool. All right, well, hope you guys enjoyed that episode, and hope everybody's safe out there during this very odd, strange time. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks with the next episode.